Welcome to Manufacturing Talk Radio, your everything manufacturing podcast, with host and veteran manufacturing industry expert Louis Weiss and co-host Amy Niklas. Make sure to check out our catalog of 800 previous shows on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Now, let's get into the episode.
Good day, everyone. This is Lou Weiss and Amy Niklas of Manufacturing Talk Radio. We're here for our monthly show with Steve Miller, who's the chair of the Institute for Supply Management Services Business Survey Committee report. Whew! It's a good thing you don't have to wear that on the back of a football jersey.
No kidding.
You'd have to have your arms like this. So, Steve, did a good job. We got a solid expansion, 54 for the June 2026 report. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, it was great to see. For the third time in 2026, we had all four subindexes that make up the PMI. Both are all above 50. Plus all above their 12-month average. So really solid numbers. Those are business activity, new orders, supplier deliveries, and employment. And so the big change was employment up more than 3 points, up to 51, so above where we've been for several months. So really good sign. The other sign is that we saw a little bit of a drop in the prices index as well, so down to 67.7. Which is the first time out of 70 in several months as well. So good sign, a lot of commentary around people starting to see gas, fuel, and diesel prices going down, although some are still seeing them elevated. So good mix there, showing a transition down to lower pricing from a petroleum input type of thing. Petroleum products, though, we see are still elevated. So second month in a row that they came through as up in price. The one thing that was a little bit concerning was the increase in the number of items that look like that all are data center inputs are short supply. So wonder if that will be a little bit of a dampener in the growth of data center construction and maybe growth of AI, but we'll see. I feel like
that was the same for the manufacturing report as well. Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed, and go back a minute, the pricing. It's the 109th month of expansion. So is that never going down? I mean, it's 9 years.
We call that a depression when prices go down. Deflation is usually doesn't accompany any positive economic activity.
So we should be rooting for higher prices.
Slightly higher prices.
Okay. Sounds good.
Would you like me to share the actual chart from the report? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just thought maybe that would help for our viewers.
There we go.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, how about it, Steve?
Yeah, so you see when you look down that third column of percent, so the geography of the report, the services PMI numbers are on the left, and then the final three columns are the manufacturing PMI as a reference point, so you can see for similar indexes how they compare. The services is about 90% of the U.S. economy and manufacturing about 10%. But if you're not making stuff, you don't need a lot of the services. So it has an outsized impact, even though it's only 10% of GDP. When you look at the numbers that kind of stand out, if you look at that percent point change column on the services PMI data, you see 3.3% or percentage points up for employment, and you see 11.3% down on inventories. And then next one up, 3.6 percentage point increase in backlog of orders. So wonder if that backlog of orders is just what's driving that employment increase, where we're seeing we're not able to keep up with the new orders, so we need to hire people, which is what it looks like in general. But we'll continue to watch that, and that'll be a continued positive sign. On the inventories number, it's important, actually all the numbers, it's important to understand it's a diffusion index. So it's looking at the number of companies reporting that they're up or down. And if more are reporting up than are reporting down, we're above 50. And depending on their weighting for GDP. But if you're at 50, you go down from 52 to 50, or in this case, from 62 to 51. It doesn't mean you're going down. It means that less people are saying they're going up. So 50 is flat on average. So that's one thing that when you listen to news reports, they seem to get wrong often, that a down number doesn't mean we're shrinking. It just means we're growing slower if it's above 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. I like slower than shrinking. That
Yes.
sounds better to me anyway. We're gonna keep. I'm glad to hear that. So,
The overall report is clear that we're still in the growing and expanding aspect of the economy.
Yes.
Even though it's reporting that inventory sentiments are too high.
Yes, but when you look at inventory sentiment over time, which I just happen to be able to do here, inventory sentiment at 52.6, saying we have too much inventory, is the lowest number we've had in at least 2 years.
Oh, so that's not terrible.
It's not terrible. No.
Okay. I
Um,
always maintained looking at your report, and certainly I'm not an expert, but anything between 47 and 53 is always like the no man's land. It's like, maybe we're not sure what we're talking about, but
I might make it a little bit tighter than that, Lou, but I think you're right. You bounce around the 50, if you're 48.7, is it that much different than 51.1?
yeah. I mean, this is not a science. This is the
Right.
best guess.
Right. When you see inflections, you see something go from negative to positive by 8% or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's the kind of thing that
That's
makes me
crisis.
or the
That's
or the
crisis.
other way around.
So let's talk about some of the respondent comments,
Okay.
which I always find to be interesting and giving maybe even a better or additional insight to what the numbers really mean.
I find them incredibly helpful as, the layman, if you will, or the everyday consumer who's kind of looking and checking it out to get an idea of really what's happening and taking your information as well is and what that response is. I mean, I did notice that, the droughts in Virginia are causing, a big problem. That's not something that I would have necessarily equated to this, the entire impact on the report itself. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so I try and do two things with the quotes because we get hundreds of comments each month on various different aspects, some indexes, some overall, what's up and what's down, or in short supply, that type of thing. And what I try and do with the respondents is if we're seeing something that's a trend that lots of people are talking about, I try and make sure that we have some of those in there. And then if there's some outliers as well that are in, like the one you just brought up around Virginia, that was, if you look at what's happening, you go, whoa, this is pretty significant. But it was only came through in one comment.
Okay. But
But
it did sound, it was like, oh, wow, that really makes a lot of sense. I could see why that would be a big impact and not something I had really anticipated being in the report. So I thought
yeah,
these were great.
and then when you look at the industries and what's happening with the industries, you'll see that agriculture is the bottom on the overall PMI. So they're the fastest contracting inventory inventory item industry in the survey
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense then.
to try to get those together so that people can see those. We saw less overall in the commentary this month around the war and gas prices, fuel prices, but there still were some. And then we still see tariff commentary coming through in terms of a cause for increased prices month over month.
Okay, so what?
I got gas this morning, $3.59. That's about $1 cheaper than it was a month or two ago.
Yeah, we've seen a 30% drop at end of June. Crude prices got below 70 again for their first time since February, and then who knows where we go from here. Hopefully we get into the mid 50s, back where it was at its low over the last several years.
Okay, Amy.
I don't need to get gas because I have an electric car, so I keep track of it through these reports and through Lou.
I'll bet you have a Tesla.
I do, but it's who knows? I mean, the parts for those might be a problem, but the mechanical or not, I guess not mechanical, electrical parts might be a problem for those. But
So
yeah,
what comments from your responders show certain concerns?
Yeah, so the semiconductors, memory supply, those are two that come through, and then prices paid for petroleum related products. We saw that for the second month in a row in the commodities up in price, but then we also saw it in the commentary, resins in particular. One of the respondents was buying ahead for resins before they saw the full impact from oil prices that went up in March.
I think it's important to know, and I actually, I don't know if you've seen the show Landman. I'm waiting for the next season, but one of the points that they make in this show is that what most people don't realize is that petroleum is in everything. Like it's in your chapstick. It is, I mean, really, when you see petroleum down, it's across, it's almost in anything that you have. And I didn't realize that. And I don't think that most consumers realize that petroleum is not just, we're not just talking about like gas.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's out there that's a little bit, certainly something that I wasn't familiar with until I talked to a friend of mine who was a CPO at a fertilizer company, is that the Ukraine war has had a huge impact in availability and cost of fertilizer. So you look in the agricultural industry, and you'll see that in the commentary as well. Costs for inputs for dairy and for some ag are above their prices that they can sell for, and one of the contributors to that is either use of fertilizer, availability for fertilizer to produce feedstock, and then fertilizer just to produce, to help produce food.
It's crazy how it's so much bigger than just like that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems as though that the utility industry is continuing to have issues in terms of supply and shortages and price and so on. Does that look like it's going to continue?
It's somehow they're seeming to get past it, because their growth is still fantastic, but transformers, high voltage switches, and then when you go into basic materials like aluminum and copper, we've seen that on an ongoing basis, either up in price or short supply. I think some of the piping was an issue last month as well from a short supply standpoint. It didn't come through in the for the commodities that we list, either up in price, down in price. We look for some consistency across multiple companies, not just one company mentioning it. But in the commentary, we had one talking about that impacting utility buildouts, or data center buildouts and utility buildouts.
Based on the report the way it is, and we are now in the deep part of the summer, Is this going to continue in the positive trend that it seems to be?
In our mid-year from last month, we were projecting good growth for the rest of the year and moderated pricing increases, where we had seen about, I believe it was a 7.4% increase year to date on prices paid. We're projecting 1.2% for the rest of the year as a supply management community, with continued growth, continued capital investment. So all really good signs in the mid-year, and then this month's PMI information looks like it supports that.
By the way, for the audience, last week or 2 weeks ago, we did the ISM semi-annual forecast with Steve and Susan Spence that were on our show, and it's all, an hour of great discussion and great talk about the futures, and it looks as though that the going forward 6 months is going to be great, and here this month is only supporting that. So if you're interested in hearing what's going on in regards to the future 6 months or through the end of the year, listen to last week's show that we did. So
Lou, what I really liked about doing that is that Sue's background is heavy manufacturing and some services. Mine's heavy services and some manufacturing. So the ability to be able to answer your questions thoughtfully, and you have great questions, I think that made it really fun last month.
well, great. Well, there was a quarter of a million people that watched it, so
Yeah.
it must have done something. We're not CNN or MSN Now or whatever, but we have a strong audience that tunes into the ISM report. So I thank you and Susan for being on our show as regulars. And you have been since November 4th, 2013. And our 13th year is coming up this coming November. 13. I haven't done many things for 13 years. Both my marriages, yes, but
yes,
beyond that. So it looks as though things are going to be continuing going in that direction based on this report and also the semi-annual forecast. So that's all, really great stuff, unless, as economists say, something major changes. Now, the only major change I see potentially is the end of the war. So let's forecast on our own a little bit. What happens if the war ends the day after tomorrow? I'm putting you on the spot, Steve.
Yeah, two things. Demand for transportation drops, and fuel prices drop faster than they would already. Those are the two things that I think would be, measurable, and maybe a minor impact into wholesale trade.
If I'm not mistaken, the fuel pricing are not in the mix of inflation numbers. Am I correct?
It depends which one you look at. It is included in our pricing number.
Oh, okay. So if prices drop to another 50 cents a gallon, inflation is also going to drop, correct?
From your mouth to God's ears, we'll see. When interest rates got cut, mortgage rates went up. Sometimes
some of that is called opportunistic pricing.
Yeah, sometimes nature
or gouging in some circles.
Yeah. Yeah, Lou, something about the ability to sustain growth, though. I was looking at the numbers since January, so 2026 numbers for the PMI. We haven't seen a 6-month run like that since the second half of 22.
Since the second half of
2022.
Really?
So July through December 2022 was the last time we saw a 6-month average above where we are right now for the 6-month.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it seems like a really good sign.
Very good, very good. I'm looking forward to talking more about it as the months go by.
Yeah.
I wish to Thank you, Steve, for your analysis and your report. Amy, do you have any final comments or words?
No, I mean, I think I just asked you the same thing I ask you almost every time, was that obviously we're seeing a great uptick. And as a consumer, if I'm looking at the report, what would you say that we should take it as it means for us as the consumer, not just as the person that's within the supply chain?
For those of us that are early in our careers, that are looking for future growth and growth potential, service industry looks like it's a great place to be. Starting to see employment number come back, and it seems to be because we've had sustained business activity and new order growth. Seeing the backlog grow a little bit, it looks like we're in for a good run. So now's the time, I think, if you're looking for your next gig, or looking to contribute more where you are. It looks like in services industries is a great place to be.
That's great feedback. I love that. That's a great way to close this out.
Manufacturing also is a very strong place to be if you're starting out in your career. You may get your hands dirty, but you may be earning six-figure incomes.
Oh, and you learn like crazy when
That's
you're seeing
right.
how everything, supply chain, if you're a supply chain aficionado, seeing how it really works is really cool.
Right. I'm trying to talk my godson into going into underwater welding. You get to go swimming every day and make $150,000 a year.
Yeah,
So
make sure he stays in cold weather. Sharks are coming.
that's
Sharks are
right.
coming north.
Right. That's right. Well, I wish to again thank you, Steve, and a great report. Keep up the good work, and we're going to see you next month. Any parting words, Steve?
Stay cool if you're on the East Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're telling
But
me.
you know what's interesting? For the last this is now July 5. This is now the 5th day in New Jersey that they've been predicting 4 to 5 inches of rain, and it hasn't happened yet. So that's the good news.
But a lot
So
of people watched. A lot of people watched the show.
that's right. That's right. Because they don't want to be out in the maybe rain.
That's
So
right.
everybody keep listening to us. If you like the show, hit the like button. We really appreciate that. And we'll see you next time.
Definitely subscribe.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio with hosts Louis Weiss and Amy Niklas. Before you head out, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. For more information about the show and the manufacturing industry, head over to mfgtalkradio.com. That's mfgtalkradio.com.